Hi everybody and welcome to my channel and welcome to my first gaming video. So I'll admit this does look a bit strange, but I got the platinum trophy for bullying, and if you stick around you'll see exactly how I got it and how I ended up here. I play as Jimmy Hopkins, a troublemaker who's got expelled from 7 different schools, but apparently Bulworth's the one school he wants to stay at. He'll get dropped off by Jimmy's mum and his 4th stepfather when they go away for a 1-year honeymoon cruise. Man must be minted. Bulworth Academy is where misfits teens, raging hormones and the occasional stink bomb meet. Bulworth is a school like no other. You'll have to outrun bullies and jocks, teachers and even lunch ladies. Jimmy can also be quite a funny man when he wants to be. I don't know what kind of delusions Jimmy has either.
I only give people what they have coming to them.
Then, ladies and gentlemen, we and Jimmy meet the main antagonist, Gary Smith, the Bulworth Napoleon, who has a personality that makes a doorknob seem charming and a hair as cold as the school's meatloaf. In the future, I'd imagine Gary's going to be on some sort of watch list. Also, I never understood why he wanted to take over the school. If you know, or if you think you know, let me know in the comments. We are then introduced to the nerds, and then we have the Silver Spoon Squad, and they are as stereotypical as you might think. The Grease Lightning fan crew. And then we have the muscle-bound Avengers of Bulworth. Here was the first trophy I got. All you have to do is pass 3 classes: chemistry, English and art. Chemistry was fairly easy to do. You don't need to be a scientist or anything to figure it out. You just press buttons. The next is English. You get a certain amount of letters to make words, and I passed this class after struggling. But I do really put the sexy and dyslexic for this. It's hard to make jokes about dyslexia. The next minigame was for art class, and it's just where you have to reveal a picture of your narcissistic, non-conforming and definitely full of notions arts teacher. So Jimmy saw something so horrendous he couldn't just stand by and watch someone being bullied that he wasn't bullying. What Jimmy decided to do was sit up in a balcony and help Ernest during his debate and see if he could just snipe off the bullies that bullied Ernest. He also managed to get an upgrade. So then Gary decided to let his other split personalities weigh on in his friendship with Jimmy, and they decided that Jimmy is going to betray them. So Jimmy gets lowered down to the basement where Gary sends Russell in to fight him, and we end up beating Russell to get our next trophy, and that is the freshman trophy. It's funny listening to Gary because you never know exactly what the man's going to come out with. Everyone to Gary is just stupid or a moron or something. Gary is quite clever. I don't know what he's doing at Bulworth. I had the exact same problem once. Jimmy must be one smooth talker because he managed to get a date with someone who likes to keep it in the family, if you know what I mean. And if you don't, she says it anyways. Jimmy then won one of the biggest teddy bears I think I've ever seen in my life. Look at the size of that thing. Where are you supposed to put that? I think he really seemed to love that giant teddy bear. The after hours trophy I got was for staying out 5 hours after curfew. What a rebel we are.
So how do I do it, Pete? Do what? Beat those rich kids into submission. Well, what have you tried so far? Random violence, widespread destruction, gratuitous sadism.
This nearly made me glad that I didn't grow up rich. I had completely different other things to worry about. Then to my dismay, there was no 80s workout montage, which I reckon was just a big skipped opportunity. You could just imagine Jimmy running through a heap of snow and screaming Biff's name at the end of it. Could you imagine training all your life in boxing and just one lad comes in and beats you? So after going 4 rounds with Biff Taylor, I finally beat him in one of the world's greatest boxing matches since Thriller and Manila. Jimmy really shows how down to earth he is right after winning the fight against Biff. And then it was on to the leader of the rich kids, known as Derby, or also I prefer to call him Giga Chad. Then this gave me the trophy sophomore after beating the Giga Chad. Then after Jimmy becomes the leader of the rich kids, he gives them the pep talk they always deserved and always needed. I'm sure all their rich dads gave the same exact speech, and I'm sure the employees were in the exact same place as the lads on the ground are now. Could you imagine those rich lads going home and just them telling their dad all about how some kid came into their clubhouse and beat them all and then was like, I'm boss now. Automatically get this trophy after getting 100 respect from 2 groups. Then after completing the 2nd rocket science chemistry test and hitting all the right buttons at all the right times, I passed. Jimmy's at Learn Pump, he's so proud of himself. Then I went on to gym class where Jimmy learned some not so real wrestling, but some helpful moves when he gets into fights with other kids on the school grounds. I love how the kid is just sitting there defeated in the background. And then Jimmy was on to his 2nd gym class, which just happened to be dodgeball with the nerds against the bullies. And the dodgeball game is fairly simple in Bully. It's just where you have 2 rounds of throwing the ball at whoever's against you. After completing them 3 classes, I finally got the trophy Teacher's Pet. So for the next trophy, Jimmy has to go around and look for people that need errands done. And it turns out that Petey likes Beatrice. Who knew? But some of the errands you do are different than just delivering packages between Petey and Beatrice. futures. Like this errand, for instance. Jimmy goes around and has to pick 3 lockers, which is nothing to him. Jimmy then gets an errand to go in and absolutely destroy one of the bathroom toilets, but not in the way you're thinking. So Jimmy decided to activate paparazzi mode and go around taking pictures of Lola while she's cheating on Johnny, and he made his way back to Johnny. So after Jimmy gives Johnny the photos, they both talk about how lovely Lola is in this relationship. The compliments both lads give her are very, very good. And in case anybody can't tell, I am being very sarcastic here. So Johnny decides to come up with a pinky in a brain-like scheme to get young Gord to keep his hands off his woman. He asks Jimmy to meet him somewhere and bring Gord with him. You will never believe how Jimmy got Gord there. It involves hitting him. After Gord gets lured to where Johnny is, the conversation between them is actually kind of disgusting, I'm not going to lie. Like, Gord is just outrageous. It's weird because Gord seems a little bit proud of the fact that cousins are legal too. Whatever floats your boat, I suppose. Johnny really needs to get all his anger or problems out, or just get help, or do you know what, just even break up with Lola at this point. So when Jimmy shows up to see Lola, all she does is give out to him. I don't know why, but every woman in this game just seems to give out to Jimmy and put all their problems on him for him to sort everything out. It's almost like he's the main protagonist of the game. So after Lola's done giving out to Jimmy, all Jimmy can take away from what she said is that there's a big fight happening and Jimmy could win it all. That if he beats up everyone, he wins. So Jimmy started a fight with the Greasers by saying that the Fonz was no good and Grease Lightning was not good either. He also said Leather went out of style years ago. And then Jimmy decides to show his humility once again. Then Johnny shows up to fight Jimmy to prove the Grease Lightning, the Fonz and Leather are all very cool and still in style. This fight also gets me the Trophy Junior. Jimmy then decided to take a break to start doing some errands, like to start walking one of the girls back to her dorm. Then when Jimmy finished the errand of walking her back to her dorm, he got another errand off a girl to egg the boys' dorm. And then after making my way over to egg the boys' dorm, after completing this, Jimmy was offered another errand, which was just go egg the girls' dorm because the boys wanted revenge and they didn't know who egged the dorm. Then after egging the boys' dorm and doing all the errands that I have, finally got the trophy, Little Angel, even though Jimmy is far from that. Then after picking up so many flowers, I could open my own flower shop and make every florist in the country
Like you. I mean, get real.
Being told you're beneath someone that pees themselves on the regular and is called Peace Day is very weird. So, after listening to Petey and all his information on how to take the Rod of Iron from Ernest and take over his little gang, I decided to put it into effect. And then, as tradition, I left Petey out of all the missions because you know what, who needs help? Jimmy certainly doesn't. The way to beat Ernest was to get him down from the platform where he was shooting bottle rockets at you. So after Jimmy took down Ernest, he managed to persuade him to help him fight the jocks, and then they became the bestest of friends. I wonder how Ernest became leader. Did he fight his way to the top or what? It's funny how he says you have a funny way of showing it, and he's the one who tried to attack me with bottle rockets. That would blow me to pieces or blow things off me. Jimmy once again has to come in and play hero for the nerds and save them from the jocks that are trying to invade. On another note, where are them 2 nerds going with that box? Like, what's so important that they have them right now while they're in fear of getting beaten up? So if you're wondering why Ernest is going to be killed along with the other nerds, it's because Jimmy took pictures of Mandy under Ernest's request for science, of course. So then Jimmy goes out just to stall the jocks while the nerds fix their famous defense system. Jimmy then goes out like an Irish Rambo with nothing but a sputter gun on his hip to fight off all the jocks. So after that whole fiasco of Jimmy saving the nerds, Ernest comes up with another plan that could probably get them all killed. Ernest loves his plans. He also loves the sounds of his own voice and loves to waffle so much. Like, it's getting a bit ridiculous now at this point, listening to him talking so much, that I think even Jimmy's had enough of him. I know I have.
Whatever. What's the plan?
So after Jimmy gives Ernest some sass, Jimmy gets the mascot outfit by beating the kid in the mascot outfit. Jimmy then got a bottle of glue and then one of the kids stick around a while after practice. I love the way no one helps this fella as well. Then, while Jimmy is still in the mascot outfit, he decides to go find the team's drink and add his own very special ingredient to it. One of the jocks then decided to come along and try Jimmy's drink. For the next prank, Jimmy decides to go down and throw marbles on the pitch, and then the team decides to come out and see if they can run a breakneck speed. So then Jimmy gets a football that has a firework attached to it, and he's told to put it in one of the gear bags so the jocks will come along and find it. This was extremely dangerous. I'm surprised no one's more hurt, considering how big the bang is and the 2 kids fell. You could say that kid had an explosive, right? The last prank, Jimmy hacks the scoreboard. Then after robbing so many kids, Jimmy finally became the thousandaire he always dreamed of. There's a very bad echo in the middle of that pitch at that really loud football game for some reason. Jimmy then took on the ventriloquist's dummy and then the ventriloquist, sacking him in the middle of a football game, which was quite easy considering he says he does it all day, every day. Jimmy's rough around the edges, but I still managed to get the Casanova trophy and give him 25 kisses. What a charmer. Down for the count wasn't that hard of a trophy to get. I was throwing out haymakers like I was Rocky Balboa on a rampage, and I knocked out 200 people. No referee needed. It was always a fair fight. My fights didn't always have style and grace. If you enjoyed the video, why don't you just consider leaving a like? Or maybe even leave a like. The love of Jimmy's life, Zoe, tells him that there's a massive school fight going on between all the school groups. Jimmy decides to go get involved. It also turns out Jimmy is just a massive, true American patriot.
Kids from beating the crap out of each other.
It's America! Beat the crap out of everyone.
Jimmy and Russell then go on to fight the nerds burning down the gym, the rich kids in their own building, the jocks in the library trying to burn it down as well. And then they go on to fight the greasers in the girls' dorm, weirdly enough. And then Jimmy chases after Gary and pulls a Scooby-Doo and somehow ends up on the roof. I explained why he took over the school to Jimmy, and then he decided to show Jimmy his impersonation of a girl.
You're smarter than me! You ain't...
And then Jimmy and Gary decided to throw on some very hurtful comments. And then after a little bit of a scuffle, the two boys fell off the balcony, through some glass, and somehow lived and wasn't ripped to pieces afterwards. Then after one quick school year, I graduated. When I saw this trophy, it's not what I thought it was going to be. Skid mark is one of the most painful looking trophies to get, and anyone that's got a wedgie will know what I'm talking about. I remember when I was younger. Oh no, wait, I better not talk about that, I'll get cancelled. I got 20 GTBs for getting the expert bicycle thief trophy. I swear I didn't keep them all. I gave them all straight back. I rolled into the next trophy, the wheel deal, performing 200 wheelies on a bike. I got this during one of the races. It was really easy to get. I'm sorry. Jimmy could have a future in landscaping after giving the crew cut to the grass 10 times and getting its green thumb. It was as much fun in the game as it is in real life. I may have dropped out of school in real life, but in this game, I'm a genius. Who needs maths anyways? Went around and got this trophy by telling people how much I cared about them. And I insulted your mom. Jimmy may not be the smartest man at Bullworth Academy, but he will definitely be the best dressed after getting the Sharply Dressed Man trophy. Or maybe he won't. Then, after getting a very important mission from one of the cops in Bullworth, they sent me in to clear out all the rats. There's no greasers living in this building as far as I can tell anymore. So, who reported the rats? Was there someone just creeping around in there looking for them? Well, Jimmy's now with Mama's boy. To watch your step, you have to throw 25 people with marbles. This was an easy enough trophy to get, except for the last few who just seemed to be able to fight me, even though they were tripping on marbles. It's a bit surprised when the trophy popped, because I wasn't expecting it. Class Dismiss was the next trophy. This was shooting 300 bottles at the shooting fair. This took a lot longer than I thought it would. It took a couple of days, in-game days, not real days. It was a lot harder than it looks, but my aim was still terrible throughout the game. The next trophy is Jewel Nebula, which is where you have to play 3 games, Consumo, Nutshot and Monkey Fling. I started with Consumo, which I find the most fun out of all the mini-games to play. You collect food as a sumo wrestler to grow bigger, and you have to beat Fatty's score. It is a lot more fun than it looks. Usually eating is. Nutshot was the middle one, and it's a very weird game to explain, but you play as a flying squirrel shooting your nuts at bees, bats and flying chickens. Thought it'd be a lot harder. The last of the arcade games to do is Monkey Fling, which I found the easiest. All you have to do is move from left to right, flinging your poop up in the air, hitting spiders and knocking bananas. They always refill when you get the bananas too. Nobody's afraid of spiders while playing this. Finally, after all them years of gaming, then I was on to the next trophy, where it required me to go down to the carnival and do the races against all my classmates. And I did such good driving, could have auditioned for Formula 1, no problem. So don't get jealous, lads. It's just years of gaming and practice. It reminds me of my driving in real life. Something really weird kept happening with the game around this part. This is the first of 2 racing trophies I get, and this one's called Speed Freak. That weird thing happened again right around here. So this is the second of 2 racing trophies. You get this by racing the kids in the town that were expelled from Bullworth. God knows why, because Bullworth, I didn't think you could get expelled from it. Once again, my driving skills are absolutely amazing. The name of this trophy as well is Pole Position. And fun fact, it's actually the name of the Gentlemen's Club in Vice City. The excellent trophy wasn't that hard to get after it was cracked wide open after having Jimmy run around and ate 25 cars and turn them into modern art pieces. Vandalism never looked or tasted so good. This was no joking matter. A lot of people probably needed a shower after I got the Smell You Later trophy, which is throwing 50 stink bombs at just random people. There will probably be a smell over Bullworth forever. I guess you could say Jimmy dropped some dirty bombs. Kleptomania was the next trophy, which is just acquiring all the room trophies. I never thought Jimmy would have sneaky finger syndrome, but the way he's decorated his room with the trophies, it seems like he does. I got Jimmy to complete the Bullworth Triathlon, which was a marathon of travelling 100,000 metres on foot, followed by Skater Pro, which was travel 50,000 metres on a skateboard. Tony Hawk would be so proud of this. And then there was the Tour de Bullworth, which was travel 100 kilometres on your bike. The next trophy is Problem Child, which is to amass 160,000 trouble points, which Jimmy'd have no problem getting in any single way, but I decided to get all these points, I was going to sit in a tree and camp like I was in Call of Duty. It was not as fun as it looked. It also took a lot longer to do than I thought it would. So then, to get so delicious, I decided to stand Jimmy at a soda machine for a couple of seconds and get the 100 sodas that he needed to get the trophy. I'd say Jimmy's dentist was rubbing his hands together after he saw him coming in. And then I became the youngest valedictorian.